Hello, my name is Ben O'Brien and my project is based on the research and development of a smart and secure system to support first year student engagement. I've built a system designed to be used by the first year student support program named Making the Leap that runs in partnership with the Computer Systems course in the University of Limerick. And this initiative aims to support first year students during their transition from secondary to tertiary education. It also helps teachers identify any new students who are academically struggling or having a tough time with university life. The initiative also provides second year students with an opportunity to volunteer as mentors. And the hours that these students spend volunteering also contributes towards the President's Volunteer Award, which a lot of them are taking part in. The main aim of the program is to try and decrease the amount of students who are dropping out. This is because computer science courses tend to have high dropout rates, and a huge factor is due to the lack of student engagement. So, how does the program work? At the start of each academic year, the new first year students are broken up into groups of about 5 people, and then the volunteering second year students are assigned to each group. A meet and greet event is set up to allow the first year students to meet their new mentor, and after that 5 weekly meetings are organised, each of which covers a specific academic topic. The second year student leaders will also regularly meet with their academic mentors to provide feedback on how the meetings are going and whether or not any students in particular are struggling. One of my primary focuses for this project was security. The database for the entire system stores private information relating to students, including their personal information, contact details, and attendance records. Hence, I needed to focus heavily on the security side of the system to ensure that none of this information gets leaked. I spent time researching lots of different security features that I could incorporate into my system. For example, learning how to send HTTP messages safely, figuring out how to properly authenticate and authorize users using tokens, understanding how to hash and salt passwords before storing them in the database, and many more. Another area that I wanted to focus on was usability. The system includes a mobile application, and nowadays having an easy-to-use app is very important. I wanted to make sure that it was simple for the user to become familiar with the UI so that they could easily carry out their tasks. Navigation was important to keep in mind when I was designing the app. I kept a lot of the important functionality on the main dashboard page. I also tried to keep my content clear and concise to prevent the users from endlessly scrolling throughout the pages looking for certain tools. In areas of the app where it was easier to use a wider screen, I enabled landscape orientation. Other usability features I included were dark mode settings, recycler views, and tabbed layouts. I also wanted to learn more about modern mobile technologies and best development practices. I did extensive research on areas such as mobile GPS, Bluetooth Low Energy, and near-field communication. And in the end, I decided on incorporating NFC into my app as a means for tracking student attendance at meetings. Throughout my project, I had to work closely with a lot of stakeholders. There's a lot of different people who play an important role in the Making the Leap program. I had to regularly meet with the program administrator and work closely with the Student Engagement and Success Unit in UL. The last area that I'll mention is extensibility. I wanted to create a future-proof system that could be easily modified and updated in the future without causing any bugs. Using a client-server architecture increased the extensibility of my system because it decouples the back end from the front end. And on the back end, I also created a REST API which also increases the extensibility of the system because it allows various different types of clients to extend the main system functionality. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the system. The front end consists of 2 different types of clients, the first being an Android mobile app. This is the application that both the first and second year students will use to carry out tasks such as organizing meetings, sharing posts, or tracking attendance. The other front-end client is a web app in which the system administrator can carry out administrative tasks such as creating groups, assigning students, etc. On the back end, I have a RESTful web service set up which carries out a lot of the main system functionality. This API also communicates with the Firebase cloud services that I decided to incorporate into my system. These services include the cloud messaging service for pushing notifications to the students' phones and the cloud storage service for storing users' profile pictures. The REST API also persists and retrieves data from a relational database that I have set up. This database holds information on all of the students, their group meetings, their attendance records, and any posts made. Just to note that the technical details in relation to my research, capturing requirements, working with stakeholders, making design decisions, implementation of the system, support for quality attributes, and testing are all discussed in further detail in my report. At the end of this presentation, I will quickly discuss these topics, but for the most part, this presentation will primarily be a demo of the product that focuses on the various features included in the app. So I've just created a second year group leader account and I've assigned them to a group on the admin interface. So as you can see here, we can see all of the members in their group and go to each member's profile page. You can simply click on their email address and your email app on your phone will be launched, ready to send them an email. And you can do the same with their phone number and you can quickly send a text or make a call. So if we just jump back to our dashboard, I can show you some of the other functionality that the app offers to the students. Before that, I'm just going to quickly jump to our profile settings and change the theme to be in dark mode rather than light theme. So once this happens, the app should reload back on the same page and it should be set to dark mode. And now I'm just going to show you how a second year student can add a new group meeting. As you can see, the user is prompted with a calendar where he can choose the date and a clock where he can select the time for the meeting. And once that's done, they can jump to the information tab and select the building. And once he chooses the building, they can type in what room that the meeting is going to take place in. Just to note, when they select the building, it also updates the database with the exact coordinates on Google Maps of where that building is. And then they can type in the topic for the meeting and also give a brief description of what will take place throughout it. When the add button is clicked, it should update the database with the meeting information and it will also push a notification to the first years in that group telling them that they have a new meeting. We can also click back into the meeting we just created and we can see the information that we set. If we click the gear icon, we can edit any of that information and update the meeting details. There's also an option to delete the meeting. And if we go back, we can do other things like update our President's Volunteer Award hours by clicking the PVA button at the bottom of the screen. So this launches a web view inside the app, so the user doesn't have to leave the app to update their hours. And it brings them to studentvolunteer.ie where the second year students enter their hours for the President's Volunteer Award. So if we click out of that, we can also set a reminder for this meeting into our phone and that provides us with a message. And if we click on the button here, it should launch our calendar app with the exact date of that meeting and a 30-minute reminder should be set too, but the user can change this if they want. Now we can jump back to our meeting page again. And I'm just going to show you how the attendance functionality works. So if you click on the attendance button, you're given a list of all the students in your group and you can simply click the here button to note their attendance. You can also do this via NFC if the first year touches their phone off the second year's device. So I'm just going to give you a quick example of how that's done. So as you can see here, I have two devices. One represents the first year, which is on the right, and the other represents the second year, which is on the left. And if I simply touch these devices together, the attendance for the first year student should be recorded. And we got a message to say that it has. So now I'm just going to quickly run through some of the other app functionality. One of the main things that you can do is create posts to show to your group. So you can add a title and a body. You can also add links in the body of these posts that will be clickable and present you with an app chooser to launch it into the browser of your choice. We can also update our profile picture. If we just click on the icon here, it should give us an option to go into our gallery and select a photo that we want to upload. And while it's uploading, we should be prompted with a loading bar telling us the percentage of the upload. Once it's successfully uploaded, we should get an image uploaded message at the bottom of the screen and our profile picture should change automatically. I'm just going to log in as a first year student now to show you what the app looks like from their perspective. So I'm just going to type in the username and password here and hit login, and it's pretty much the exact same. You can see the people in your group and you can visit their profile pages. You can also visit your own page and change your personal information. One of the only differences on this side of the app is this little button here in the top left corner, which opens up an NFC sign-in page. While this is open, your phone has the ability to send NFC messages to the second year's device. So now let's just look at what the meeting page looks like for the first years. It looks very similar to that of the second years, but you have a button here in the top right corner that opens up Google Maps on the exact location of where the meeting is taking place. And there's a directions button in the bottom corner here, which should open up your location and the location of the meeting and the quickest route to get there. So that's pretty much how the app works. So now I will just show you some of the other functions that the administrator can carry out on the web application. So back here on our admin portal, we can click into group information and see all of the members in each group. We can also go back here and click into group meetings to see the details of each meeting that's set. The admin can also create meetings himself if they just go into the create meetings section and type in all of the information and simply hit the create meeting button. This also causes a push notification to be sent to the user's phone like this. As you can see, if we scroll down from the top, it says new meeting scheduled. The admin can also check the attendance from meetings. So if you click into the group that you want to see, we can see our attendance that we took earlier and 2 other meetings that don't have the date set yet. And that's pretty much it for the system walkthrough, but now I will talk about a few of the other aspects of my project. The first topic that I decided to research was the importance of student engagement and attendance. I found lots of interesting studies that indicated a correlation between poor student engagement and high dropout rates in computer science courses. After that, I decided to look into the different mobile technologies that are available to developers. The main ones I researched were GPS, Bluetooth Low Energy, and Near Field Communication, but I decided on using NFC for tracking attendance because my research found that GPS would be too problematic and Bluetooth Low Energy would be impractical due to the external hardware needed to make it work. The next topic I studied was security. I did extensive research on the best practices for creating a safe and secure system. The topics I focused on were database security, authentication and authorization, hashing and salting data, and NFC security. And finally, I downloaded various different apps from the Play Store which had similar functionality to what I wanted from my app. I carried out some user interface and usability tests on each app, and I took note of the various features that these apps offered to their users, and I used this as inspiration for the design of my application. The first thing that I had to do in terms of requirements capture was identify the relevant stakeholders for this project. I then conducted interviews with the primary stakeholders to learn more about what they needed from the system. I recorded these meetings and summarized them in my report, highlighting the key takeaway points from each one. I then built up a stakeholder analysis chart, which can be seen in the diagram here. This shows the name of each stakeholder, their project influence level, their needs and requirements of the system, and a communication plan for keeping in touch. And from this chart, I was able to extract the final list of requirements for my system. Then throughout the design phase, I had to make lots of important decisions. I decided to build the app for Android platforms due to the support that they offer for developers in using NFC. iOS, on the other hand, still do not provide developers with full NFC permissions due to security reasons. Once I decided on what platform I was going to use, I began sketching the different pages of the app and planning out how the navigation and UI would work. Some of my initial sketches can be seen here. After this, I created prototypes of how each page would look, and here's a quick example of what my prototypes look like. Another major design decision that I had to make was deciding whether or not to use SQL or NoSQL for my database. I ended up going for a MySQL relational database due to the fact that they are more secure. I then had to create a database schema, which can be seen here. This essentially just shows the various tables in the database and the relationships among them. Now I will quickly show you some of the code snippets from my system. The first image here is extracted from my SQL file, which defines the various tables in the database. This snippet in particular shows you how the first year students table was created. As you can see, the various column names are specified and their data types are mentioned too. The next snippet shows support for one of the main quality attributes, which is security. This is the endpoint on my REST API, which checks the user login details, which are passed in the header of the request. The details are stored in an authorization token, which is essentially just a base64 encoded string that holds the email address and password of the user separated by a colon. The string is broken up into two substrings, one for the email and the other for the password. Once I had this information, I simply called the authenticate method, passing the user login information as parameters. And this method simply checks if the user details are stored in the database. If the user is authenticated, then a JSON web token is generated and sent back to them in the API response. This token can then be used to authorize this user in the future. Other code snippets that support different quality attributes of the system can be seen in the report. I carried out multiple different types of testing. The first I did was functional testing, and I created unit tests that ensured that each function was working as intended. I checked things like, does the app launch correctly? Can users sign up and log in successfully? Do text boxes get displayed properly? And do all the buttons work as intended? I also tested the push notifications, making sure that they rendered correctly. Next, I did some compatibility testing. This meant checking if the app worked properly on different devices. I needed to make sure that it was compatible with all screen sizes, since phones tend to vary a lot nowadays. Another important test that I did was checking if the app ran smoothly on older versions of Android. Next, I did some security testing. I ensured that my system could not be attacked using a sniffing attack. This is when the user details or access token is retrieved by the attacker when a request is sent to the API. And to carry out this testing, I use an application known as Wireshark, which allows you to intercept different packets being sent over a network. Other security testing I did included checking if I could retrieve data by sending API requests without authorization. To do this, I used an app called Postman, which allows you to send customized API requests. After this, I tested the admin interface by manually typing in the URL to try bypass the login page. I had planned on carrying out usability testing with the student stakeholders involved in the program, but unfortunately this was not possible due to the COVID-19 pandemic.